You've been fired. Leave my store immediately." Sarah stood motionless at the register, her manager's stern words reverberating through the tiny convenience store. Only a few minutes before, she had allowed an old man counting pennies to forego his $5 payment for basic groceries, living paycheck to paycheck herself. Tears streamed down her face as she left, unaware that the elderly man in the tattered coat was observing from his vehicle. After half an hour, everything was going to change. Welcome to Mystic Tales, everyone. Let's begin. For 3 years, Sarah had been employed at the Smart Mart convenience store, a tiny business that served the neighborhood at the corner of Pine Street. Her morning shift began at 6 in the morning. The store was silent that morning, save for the gentle hum of the refrigerators, as the sun started to rise. As she prepared for another workday, Sarah counted the money in her register. She needed every hour she could get because her rent was due the following week. An old man entered slowly through the automated doors. His shoes were faded from years of usage, and his coat was clean, but he picked up some canned soup, bread, and milk. As he walked up to her register, Sarah saw his hands quivering a little. "Good morning," Sarah remarked with a soft grin, and the elderly guy nodded while setting his eyes on the counter. When the total came to $15.75, he took a small coin purse out of his pocket and methodically counted pennies and nickels with his fingers. When he kept counting, Sarah noticed the concern in his eyes. "I seem to be $5 short," he said quietly. "I'll put something back." His voice carried a mixture of resignation and embarrassment. Sarah looked at the basic necessities and thought about her own struggles, including the time she had to choose between meals. Without hesitation, she pressed some buttons on her register and said, "The bread and milk are on sale today." "Your total is $10.75, she said softly, and the old man looked up, his eyes meeting hers. "Thank you, dear. You are very kind," he said. Security cameras captured everything as Tom, her manager, raced out his office, his face flushed with rage. "What are you doing? You can't just adjust prices. This is coming out of," Tom shouted. "Your salary." Sarah attempted to explain that it was only $5 and that he needed help. The elderly man stood quietly, clutching his groceries, and said, "I don't care. This is theft. You're fired. Get out of my store right now." Sarah grabbed her purse from behind the counter with trembling hands. 3 years of labor vanished in a flash. Tears clouded her vision as she walked to her car in the glaring morning sun. Her mind was racing with ideas of job applications, rent, and expenses. The elderly man strolled to his car, which was parked a few spots away, and Sarah saw that it was a simple sedan with nothing special. He put his groceries in the back seat and then sat in the driver's seat, watching her get in her own vehicle. Sarah had only $200 in her savings account. The weight of what had just transpired weighed heavily on Sarah's shoulders as she leaned her head on the driving wheel. But she didn't regret assisting him because certain things were more significant than money. Sarah's mind was racing with concerns as she drove home to her tiny apartment. She lived in a small development outside of town where rent was less expensive. Her roommate Lisa texted her on her phone, asking why she was home so early. Lisa inquired, "I got fired." Sarah answered, "When you get home, I'll tell you everything." Sarah sat at her kitchen table and opened her laptop to look for work. The majority of the jobs listed in the area paid minimum wage. When the doorbell rang, Sarah wasn't expecting anyone and opened the door to discover her resume staring back at her from the screen. A stylish woman with a business card in her hand. "Hi. This is Rachel from Wilson & Associates law firm. May I please enter? I am Mr. James Wilson's representative." Sarah invited her in, perplexed but intrigued, and they sat at the kitchen table. "James Wilson, the old guy you assisted this morning, wanted me to talk to you." Putting a folder on the table, Rachel said. Sarah's eyes widened, thinking something was wrong. In reality, Mr. Wilson, creator of the Wilson Foundation, was visiting area businesses as part of what he calls his monthly community check to see how staff members handle difficult customers. He was astonished by your generosity when Rachel opened the fold. Not many people would jeopardize their careers to assist a complete stranger. I had no idea who he was, but I just wanted to help. In a hushed voice, Sarah said that this is precisely why he was impressed and that he would like to give you a job at the Wilson Foundation's community outreach program. The beginning pay is $45,000 a year, and every perk is included.